So sewing in sleeves can feel a little bit daunting, but it doesn't have to be. And with a few little know-hows, it's actually not as bad as you think. So first of all, before you sew in your sleeves, you want to make sure you've made pretty much all of your bodice. The only thing I've not done is hem this yet. And the same with the sleeve, you want to make sure you've pretty much done all of your sleeves because it just makes it easier to then just attach these as the last bit of the process. And if you haven't tried the fit of everything beforehand, I always recommend testing out the fit of your bodice before you add the sleeves. So then if you need to make any tweaks, it'll be easier to see where you need to tweak things. And the same with the sleeves as well. Just try the sleeve on, see how it works a little bit, and then see if you need to tweak anything before adding your sleeves. And then when you're ready to sew them on, what you want to do is make sure you've got the right sleeves on the right sides, and that's so easily mixed up. And the way you tell which sleeve is going on the right side is with the notches. One single notch means front, two means the back. And if you get them the wrong way round, your sleeves actually kind of have a natural tilt forwards because your arms have a natural tilt forwards. So if you get them the wrong way round, you'll have a sleeve that tilts backwards, which won't be very comfy. So what you want to do then is match them up. So I make sure my sleeve is the right way round. So I've got the right side facing outwards. And then start with the underarm seam, or if you don't have an underarm seam and you've just got a notch here, then just match those up. I always press my seams outwards on my sleeves, and then the same with my side seam on my bodice. And then what I'm going to do is just flip this outwards. So this is going to go inside out, but my sleeve is the right way around. So I've got my right sides together, and I always pin, so I'm pinning on the inside of my sleeve, and it actually makes it slightly easier to ease in your sleeves when you do this. So I'm just matching up those side seams to start with. And then I match up my notches. So I've got my one notch at the front, which is going to match up with the one notch of my sleeve. And you'll find that bit up to the notches is going to be nice and easy to sew because there's not normally any ease under there. Where you've got the ease is over the sleeve head, and that's to allow for your muscle and your arm, because obviously woven fabric doesn't really stretch, so it needs that extra room to be able to fit your arm muscle there. So then I'm just doing the back notches. So I'm basically using all the points I've got to match them up first, and then I know better where the ease is. And then I've got the top of the sleeve head. Matching that up. And then if ever you find you're missing a notch or anything, just place your pattern piece back on it and you can just transfer it over. So now what I'm going to do is add in extra pins between everything. So I start with the bottom bit just because it's easier, so then it feels like you're getting somewhere. And then just work your way around. And you want to gently ease this in. So you're basically just gonna shift the fabric slightly so there's just the tiniest extra bit going in. So you can see here there's a slight bulge. And if you do that gradually around the whole of the top of the sleeve head, it will fit really nicely. And that's why I do my pins this way as well, for sleeve heads especially, rather than putting them this way. And if it doesn't quite work and you just need to ease it around a bit more in another area, just unpin a couple of pins, because honestly, the more time you spend doing this now, the easier it will be to sew and the better it will turn out. So we're all pinned, and if you want to tack it, so just do big hand stitches around it, you can do. I don't tend to do that, but if you want to, you can, of course, do to make sure that your pins don't come out or anything. But now I'm just going to sew around here using my normal seam allowance that's on my pattern, and then we will have a sleeve sewn in. And I tend to start at the bottom just so I've got part of it done, and that's the easier bit to do. So I tend to start at the underarm seam matching the side seam. And what I tend to do is I use a pin a little bit to like push the fabric back a bit where I want to ease it in, because what you'll find is the foot is pushing the fabric back this way, and you don't necessarily want it to because you're easing it in. So I just push it a little bit, not much, so it doesn't create any tucks, but just a little bit with the pin. And you can lift up your foot every now and then as well and just shift it slightly, because the foot will just naturally push it the opposite way to what you want it to be. And that's how you can kind of ease it in. So you can just take it really slowly. You don't have to do it quickly, but it'll just mean it'll work a lot better. And as long as you don't sew in any tucks, then it'll nicely flatten out once you've pressed it afterwards. So that's my sleeve sewn in, and what you'll find is you might find you've got the odd little like wrinkle, but as you iron it out and press it out, as long as you've not sewn in any tucks, they'll all just press out and you'll have a really nice fitting sleeve. And if you have just got the odd tuck in there, what you can do is just undo that little section and just re-sew that little section and ease it in. Don't feel like you need to undo the whole thing. Just ease it in and sew over that little bit. But yeah, that's worked really well. If you would like to start creating your own sewing patterns, then I have developed the perfect ebook for you. So my free ebook, An Introduction to Pattern Cutting, is really good for you to get started and understand what is behind pattern cutting and where to start. So I go through how it's going to help you, what pattern cutting is, the tools you need to get started, and lots of amazing things so you can really understand what's behind your sewing patterns and how to get started and creating your own patterns as well. You'll find the link to download this in the notes below.